Matthew Holt is the THCB Quick Bite. Again from HIMSS, we're now upper level. We're either quiet or noisy, depending on who you believe. This is Tim O'Connell. He's the CEO of emtelligent, which I guess says that something to do with being intelligent and EMS.
Electronic Medical Intelligence.
Oh,
it's a portmanteau.
Something very clever in the end there, right?
Yeah, exactly.
All the way from Vancouver, where they speak Canadian.
Yep.
All right, with the basics, your company's in LLP, natural language processing. What does that mean, and what are you doing for whom?
Sure. So our software is a software platform, and it can take unstructured medical text and structure the data. It can understand it, it can code it, and then make it available for various people's use cases. So if you're a payer and you've got 20 million clinical records from patients and you want to know what everyone's heart failure status is, then we can easily get that out of the records for you.
Well, people are very excited about NLP.
I love the enthusiasm. I will take it.
Downstairs.
For sure.
All right. Obviously, there are a bunch of companies. Most people got bought up these days by a company in Florida, whose name I'm blanking on, but there was the one for Health Fidelity and Talix and others who were in this game. Most of that was being used around coding for providers.
Yeah.
Is that a big use case for you?
No, not so much a big use case. We certainly are a coding engine. We code against multiple ontologies like SNOMED and ICD-10, things like that. But it's really just a part of what we do. We certainly understand the records, and so it's one thing to code it, it's another thing to know that the patient actually has the disease and what's associated with it. So we can extract all that information and more from the records, not just coding.
All right, let's talk about the flip side of having to do this. There is a large, dominant electronic medical record company in this country you may have heard of.
I've heard of them, absolutely.
And there are some others as well.
Yeah.
But give me the sense about what is the process where when you're selling to somebody, what's the process you have to go through to go and access what?
Access the record. So I used to be a network engineer before getting my medical degree. So I don't worry too much about interconnectivity issues. Really, at the end of the day, electronic health record systems or other systems, they're large databases. So, getting access to these core databases, extracting the records, that's not usually a big challenge. We support multiple formats, so we can ingest text files, PDF files, continuity of care documents like XML files. We can do direct database access.
So you can do the tech, but on the other hand, how do you get in there? Because
Oh, sure. In terms of that, so in terms of access, the customers who work with us generally already have the records that they want to process. If we needed to plug into a database like an EHR system, we could do direct SQL access, HL7 access. We could work with a third-party vendor that has an API for access to the EHR. There's a million ways to get.
But generally, your customer is a big health system that says we have this problem with our data set.
Really, we work with all customers across the healthcare spectrum, such as payers who already have records, health systems, other technology companies who already have access to records, pharma who have their own records. There's a lot of data out there.
Okay, what do you think is the next sort of big thing in terms of what people are trying to discover and use in healthcare? We've had forever, we have this data about people, and we should manage chronic care better, we should be doing better clinical research, we should be doing all the things. None of them seem to be happening. What should be happening? What
should be happening is people should really be creating large data, big data databases with billions of clinical records in them, and using them to discover the associations, the causes, the pathology, the basis of disease, right? We have already discovered so many diseases over the last 100 years, and we understand their mechanisms, but there's still so much work to do, and data really is the solution to that.
So you're talking about real-world evidence for life sciences, basically, for drug discovery?
Absolutely. It could be that, or it could simply be going through looking for associations that already exist in our chart data, right? Most of the answers for healthcare are already in there, right? We just can't discover them because we don't have the tools today or we haven't been using the tools which we now have available to find these associations, right? Why did this patient have a blood clot in their leg after surgery? Was it a genetic thing? Was it something done during the surgery? What was it, right? So we can now discover all these associations and what really is driving the health and wellness of our patients.
All right, and where do you think, I heard drug discovery, where else do you think this is going to pop up? If we're back here in 5 years and tools like yours are being used to really get into the data, what do you think is going to be different for the patient experience?
What I think is going to be different is I think that the providers are going to know their patients a lot better. And that's something we're really passionate about, is making the data that's in the chart available to the health providers so that, in today's world of walk-in clinics and people switching physicians all the time, that their physicians can get to know them much more quickly because they now have access to the data in a usable format. So it's not just about research, it's also about new clinical applications, dashboards, things like this, so that a doctor isn't just staring at a problem list that has 3 items when in reality the patient's got 10 problems.
All right, so that sounds a little bit like, better understanding the record. We've heard a lot about some companies that have got tools that can read these things called large language models.
Yes.
And a lot of people have talked about that lately. So how does the world of Gen AI play into what you're doing? Or does it obliterate the need for you?
Actually, it makes us stronger. And today we actually launched our medical large language model. And the things it can do is fascinating and amazing, and it's really going to portend a revolution in how people can use the data.